PHX here, thank you for stopping by, and in today's video we are going to be going over a build that you probably might have wanted to avoid actually using. And what I mean avoid using, I mean not using the gear set for it because of what it does, but overall I'm sure you're not going to be disappointed, especially after the gameplay footage you just saw. So with this, we're going to be going over the gear set pieces of the Martyr, the damage over time gear sets that I honestly did not think I would enjoy because I didn't know how the gear set would fare, but with the right mods and the right build spec, you are not going to be disappointed, and you are essentially going to become invincible to any of the enemies, bosses or elites or the mobs that you just saw. I mean, it is an absolute, it is a beast of a gear set, and it should be something that is very much underrated, probably because I've yet to see anyone actually use it, have anyone to see actually make videos on it, and hopefully with this blueprint you can actually use this to your advantage and make the build that you want. But yeah, so let's get right into it. So for the build, we are going to be going over the Martyr gear set. So all damage received by the player becomes a damage over time effect that cannot be removed. And the way this works is, if you notice how big chunks of your damage start to deplete from enemies that are around you, it can be quite cumbersome when you are going up against those types of enemies and you are trying to survive with the amount of damage you are taking. But with this, your damage is split up over a period of time. So say you get 20,000 damage initially, that is going to be split up into different increments, steady increments on the gear sets. But the more damage you do take, so like the more mobs there are, the more increments, or the more that damage over time effect is going to start to increase. Now when I say that you are nearly invincible, you are nearly invincible because you are killing the mobs faster than your health is depleting, but you can and sure will die when you start using this gear set, just because you need to get used to how the way the gear set actually works. It took me a good amount of time in order to figure out just how to make this build and how to actually be very viable in the end game. And oh my gosh, it's astounding in end game. It's not as good as terminal velocity builds, it's not as good as the shield beast builds, because you're not getting those 35 million damage outputs, but you are proccing 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 upwards to 5 million just with the mods that you do have on this gear set. So with this, on the helm, we've got anomaly power, cooldown reduction, status power. We've got unstoppable force, increases your anomaly power by 50% of your resistance piercing. Untamed power, using skills, deals 176,259 damage to enemies within a 5-meter radius around you. The damage is equal to 30% of your anomaly power. And the extermination protocol, borrowed time, receive a 6% damage bonus against elites every 3 seconds while the skill is active. Bonus stacks up to 30% and is removed when the skill ends. That is something that you are going to want to try and have in your third mod slot. It took me just until recently just to get that into have that drop, so it's definitely comes in handy when you are going up against bosses and when there are elites on the battlefield. Having that 6% damage bonus against elites every 3 seconds is an absolute beast. Next, we've got the chestplate of the Martyr, bonus firepower, close range damage, and status power. We got self-medication, increase your max health by 10% when any skill starts its cooldown, stacks up to 3 times, each stack lasting 5 seconds. We've got instant reload, teleporting instantly replenishes magazine in your current weapon. And then we have a throwaway mod, anomaly caliber, receive 30% resistance to piercing bonus while the skill is active. Not entirely, not too bad, especially because of the uptime with twisted rounds. You having that consistent 30% resistance piercing, that way you are still very viable and negating as much damage as possible. Next, we've got the leg plates of the Martyr, max health, healing received, status power. We've got death shell, borrowed time, killing enemies while borrowed time is active, reduces incoming weapon damage by 10% and anomaly damage by 10% for 10 seconds. Buff is removed at the end of the skill, stacks up to 4 times. Definitely something you're going to want to try and have. Would prefer it in the third mod slot rather than having to modify the leg plates, but at the same time, the Death Shell, because you are using Borrowed Time with this build, is an absolute must-have. Even odds increases your max health by 10% for each enemy within a 10-meter radius around you, stacks up to 3, so 30% health increase, which again does come in handy because of the amount of enemies and the damage over time effect that you are going to be receiving when using this gear set. And then Head of Ward, another throwaway mod, reviving an ally, also fully restores their health. So you would rather have Death Shell or something else that's valuable in your third mod slot. With this one, still trying to grind out some good leg plates. So with hopefully the update that drops tomorrow, we'll be able to grind out some good leg plates in the troves rather than having to heavily rely on this. Next, we've got Gauntlets of the Cannonball, bonus firepower, cooldown reduction, and skills life leech. We've got Captain Hunter, increases your damage against leech by 16%. We got Personal Space, grants you a 12% bonus to close range weapon damage. And then we've also got Arms and Anomaly, critical shots, and increase your anomaly power by 190,000 for 6 seconds. It's definitely a mod you're going to want in your third mod slot because of the anomaly power that we are going to be proccing in order for Twisted Rounds to take max effect. And then we've got Footgear, the Cannonball, Anomaly Power, Cooldown Reduction, Skills Life Leech, Dum Dum Bullets, increases assault weapon damage by 12%. We got Phantom Dash. I definitely prefer Phantom Dash over using the roll just because Phantom Dash is a lot quicker and it's a lot smoother when playing as a Trickster. You probably wouldn't want it on any other type of like Techno or Pyro or Devastator, but for the Trickster, I just feel like Phantom Dash just works. And then we got Diffuse, sprinting increases your armor by 171,000, 186, and resistance by 50%. And then for the weapons, the main primary weapon you're going to want is a weapon with life leech. Preferably you're going to want to use Imploder just because of the clip size on this, because it's a 60. You can get a 60 clip size with the Imploder or with the double gun in general. And with the Imploder itself, I think this is the only double gun that has weapon life leech on it, and you're definitely going to want to have weapon life leech for this build. That way you can keep maintaining your health as much as possible. We got Healing Receipt, close range damage, Deadly Disturbance, critical shots activate an unstable anomaly affecting your enemy, causing them to explode, dealing 975,866 damage to other enemies within a 5-meter radius. We got Mage's Rage, critical shots grant a 10% anomaly power bonus for 15 seconds, stacks up to 4 times, so you get 40% anomaly power with critical shots. And then we got Strings of Gauze. Shots link up to 5 enemies in a 10-meter radius of the target and deal 741 electric damage to each of them. Strings of Gauze is an absolute must-have, especially when clearing out the large mobs within the trials. It has saved me so many headaches. It saved me so many times, especially when they start gearing up on you, just like the gameplay footage you saw beforehand. It's an absolute must-have. I prefer it definitely over Nikola's Revenge, because with Nikola's Revenge, you have to keep the one person alive while you're trying to take care of everyone else, and as soon as that goes away, then you have to find another target, pretty much. So Strings of Gauze must have. Mage's Rage, 40% anomaly, just so that we can get as much damage output for the Twisted Rounds as possible. So for your bossing weapon, you're going to want to have Final Penance, crit damage, long range damage, and skills life leech. It already rolls with Mage's Rage, so that's good. Anomaly enhancement, receive a passive firepower boost equal to 40% of your anomaly power. Not too bad. It does come in handy. I don't really have another mod in general, because since Final Penance does only have crit damage and not weapon life leech, you really can't use it for mobs. So Anomaly Enhancement probably is the best bet to go with, just so that you get that passive firepower boost. And then Embalmer's Rage for 3 seconds after a critical shot. All following shots will be critical shots. Absolute must-have, especially when bossing. That way you're eliminating the health as soon as possible for those bosses. And then for the sidearm, we just have Boulderings. Nothing too fancy here. This is just because it's level 62, and I just wanted to wear it in my sidearm slot. For the skills, we've got Twisted Rounds. So currently right now my Twisted Round firepower is 205,636, but as soon as you're proccing Mage's Rage, as soon as you're proccing everything in the PAX Tree, which we'll go over here in a minute, this should proc up to 800 to close to 1,000,000 firepower damage. So keep that in mind. You have to proc all of your crit shots first before you proc Twisted Rounds. That way you can keep the current firepower in with twisted rounds. That way it never depletes, and that way your uptime is always going to be whatever it is that you take in here for the firepower. So even though it's 205,000 now, that's because nothing is procced, but as soon as you proc your critical hits, then you can proc twisted rounds. So make sure you hit your critical hits first. You have about 15 seconds in order to land all of your shots, and then you can proc twisted rounds. Hunt the prey, select an enemy and teleport behind them, receiving a 13,259 shield bonus. This definitely comes in handy because with the damage over time effect, as soon as your shield pops up, the damage over time effect was going to take down your shield rather than your health, and you're going to want that as much as possible. And then with borrowed time, receive 31,402 shield and mark your location for 28 seconds. Triggering the skill again will bend space and time to teleport you back to the marked spot. The best thing about borrowed time is you can let it run out, and say you are down below the threshold of your health, you're going to immediately get all your health back. So your damage over time effect is going to keep ticking away constantly. So this is kind of what makes the build invulnerable, is because your two skills, Hunt the Prey and Borrowed Time, they're always going to proc a shield for you. Borrowed Time is always going to give you back your health. And then we're going to go into the class tree here, and I'll show you also how the PAX Tree affects your shield as well. But starting off with the Trickster tree, we are running about half of the top tier firepower, and then we're running the rest on the below for anomaly power. So for top tier Trickster, we are going to be going with close range weapon damage by 15%, armor piercing by 10%, weapon damage by 8%, arm strike, close range weapon damage by 50%, and then we've got Leap of Quietus, activating movement skills, increase your armor piercing by 25% for 10 seconds. We've got Equilibrium, decrease your cooldown and your movement skills by 15%, which gives us about 5 seconds for Hunt the Prey. So just enough time for you to run out of ammunition with your weapon, and then keep proccing twisted rounds continuously. Increase your critical damage by 20%, close range weapon damage by 50%, and then activating movement skills increases your weapon damage by 35% for 8 seconds. Then moving down to the bottom part of the anomaly tree, we've got concentration node. We've got disturbance coding, increase your resistance piercing by 10%. Another concentration node, assault master, increase your assault weapon damage by 3.5% for each unlocked concentration class node. Then we have the two other concentration nodes going into resistance piercing again. Another concentration dropping down into combat shields timeline, activating your movement skill, increases anomaly power for 50% for 10 seconds. And then we have the last two concentration nodes that you're gonna want to use. Now for your PAX Tree, we're doing bottom tree PAX Tree. We've got Trigger Man, your damage is increased by 50% for each skill on cooldown. We have got Cheap Shot, your class melee skill lowers damage, enemies, armor, and resistance by 30% for 5 seconds. Failsafe protocols, when your health drops below 30%, get 50% shield and 20% damage mitigation for 3 seconds. Failsafe protocols can be triggered every 10 seconds. This does come in handy. This is exactly what happens. So say that you're on cooldowns for Hunt the Prey and Borrowed Time. This is going to pop in. This node here, Failsafe Protocols, is going to pop in and give you that 50% shield and 20% damage mitigation, which should just be enough time for the damage over time effect to kind of regenerate your health, but at the same time drop your shield, but it'll also allow you to get your skills back and use Borrowed Time or Hunt the Prey, whichever one comes first and whichever one that you can use first in the vicinity. Next, we got Power Overwhelming, increase your firepower by 40% of your anomaly power when using an assault weapon. And then we've got Perpetuum Trickery, critical shots increase your anomaly power by 10%, stacking up to 5 times. The stacks are consumed by the next damage skill you use. Activating damage skills increases your assault weapon damage by 50% for 7 seconds. So with this, you need to make sure, again, can't stress it enough, you have to make sure you land your critical shots for your anomaly power. So you'll get 50% here, and then going back over to here for the Mage's Rage, you'll get 40% for critical shots for 40% anomaly power, which lasts up to 15 seconds. That's why you say you have about 15 seconds in order to proc twisted rounds. So it's not too hard in order to get your critical shots, but you will have a limited amount of time before you can proc twisted rounds. So it should just be a quick, as soon as you jump in, aim for the head, land those crit shots, and then you'll be good to go in order to proc twisted rounds. And then for the Ascension, we are running full crit chance, full crit damage, full damage against elites. working on weapon leech, full weapon damage, full close range damage, and then we are also working on long range damage as well. But other than that, guys, that is it. That is the build in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed this blueprint. I really hope that you guys try out the Martyr gear set. It is a lot of fun to use. I've noticed my survivability stay up increasingly, aside from using like terminal velocity, which I still heavily like, and also Maxwell's Demon. If you haven't checked out those builds that I made, definitely go check those out. They're not as superior as many of the other builds that you see on YouTube, but Maxwell's Demon is so much fun to use. I highly recommend you use it and tweak it to your liking. But the Martyr gear set, I think I'm going to be running for quite some time, just because I'm so used to it. I'm so used to the damage over time effect, and once you start getting used to the damage over time effect, you're going to notice that your survivability just stays up consistently. You know, yes, the build is essentially making you invincible from death, but at the same time, you can and probably will die until you actually get until you actually get used to the bonus effect of the Martyr gear set. But other than that, guys, again, that is it. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I really hope that you take this build into consideration and use it for yourself. And other than that, that's all I have. Definitely drop a like, leave a comment down below. What do you guys think of the build? Have you guys started running this build? And if so, what mods do you have on it? And what do you like about the Martyr gear set? Again, guys, thank you so much. I really enjoy the support, and I will catch you guys around in the next video. Take care.